in in a contemporary way, we need to understand the value system, the knowledge system, and our ideology. Together, those three will form what we call an Islamic system. So every time I think we are thinking about what is it that we need to do in order to understand Islam in a contemporary way, I think we need to examine the value system as we understand it from the Quran and other sources, the knowledge system, the theory of knowledge from the Quran, and our ideological system. We are people who believe that Allah is uniquely singular, and this is foundational and a cornerstone in our belief. So if we go back to these three essential bases for understanding Islam, we'll get somewhere, I think. So I encourage you all to do this. And that will save us a lot of trouble.
Yeah, because if we stick to the linguistic approach of understand Islam, we will be limited. You know, life,
one-dimensional.
One-dimensional.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there is نظرية المعرفة or the epistemology needs, I mean, it has different resources. Or I would say there's resources and there is tools. So what tools we are using to understand Islam? Like maqasid is something kind of new. Although it's, if you can see it, يعني in the Quran, in the Sunnah, and in the...
Ahmed, let's simplify things. We need a theory of knowledge from the Quran. It exists. Anytime you want, we will get together and I'll give it to you either in writing or give it to you orally. But we have it. If we go back to the Quran, there is a theory of knowledge in the Quran. So those bases are essential and they all depend on the Quran in understanding the contemporary world. That's simple. Assalamu alaikum, Dr. Suhail.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
كيف
الحال؟ How are you?
I was hoping to have more guests, but still, maybe somebody will join.
Muhammad, you're alone, worth 100 people. We have a pluralistic attendance here. Out of you, we have many.
Ideas alone cannot do anything. We were discussing in the beginning with Brother Firas that then Tajdeed or the renewal or reconstruction or the reform, I mean, I'm trying to use all that spectrum, is actually existing, and you can see it all over the place. But in America, especially with the youth, I see them limited, or they are limiting themselves to the traditional school, most likely. Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe there is some, you know, some reasons for that. But mostly they are following the traditional Hanafi school, the Deobandi. And they are actually very rigid. They are against all new methods or new understanding of Islam. But this is, I mean, there's a contrast. Abu Hanifa was totally against that, totally different. But they took Abu Hanifa's madhab and they made it so rigid, so traditional. So Abu Hanifa usually did not, his followers or his main students did not follow his opinions. They came up with the new ones because his methodology is like that. You don't follow the same thing. You create your own. Depends on your understanding and changing of reality. But this school of thought is actually totally different. They are so rigid. Their understanding of Islam is very limited to what they took from the books that was written maybe 500 years ago or maybe 1,000 years ago. They limited their mind. They prevented themselves from thinking. That's my understanding. But it could be worse than that. Of course, there is the other school, which is the Al-Wa'd wal-Irshad, the nice talk, the storytelling. And it's all over the place. They have a nice way of talking, but the content or the subject is they repeat themselves every time. They talk about, they pick a piece of hadith or ayah from the Quran, and they just made a whole lecture about that. And usually that's just talking about either Jannah or Nar or, takhweef or tarhib or targhib. Wa'd wa irshad. It's just, I'd call it nice talk or storytelling. It doesn't go deeper than that. And that keeps the American audience, busy with that tone, but they prevent them from going deeper. Because whenever you talk to them deeper than that, they said, no, that sheikh or that lecturer is, he has nicer talk than you. And he, like sometimes they became follower. They eliminate their ability to think, and they just follow. They got used to it, like sugar. If you get used to sugar, then you need sugar every time. So they need to listen to the same talk every time. And if you start to crack that shell and go out from that stream, you will be maybe faced with some accusations. You are not with the religion, this is not what Islam is, or something like that.
Muhammad, are you saying trying to learn from Surah Yusuf is wrong?
I'm not saying that, they are saying.
I learned a lot last week when I heard Dr. Suhail talking about lessons to be learned from Surah Yusuf.
I
And the
didn't
way
hear
to
that.
read the Quran properly and the way to learn from what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us.
I think we should
That's
listen
me.
to that.
I don't know about you. You weren't there, but I mean,
I wasn't there.
that's why we email the khutbah every week, so people before they come, they can listen to it, and it'll be the topic of the discussion.
Yes.
The floor is yours, Dr. Suhail.
Jazakallah khair, wallahi. I'm listening. It's every time we have this discussion, it opens a lot of wounds, unfortunately. And we're really struggling to keep hope, because there is always hope as long as we're living and we are believing, then there is always hope. But sometimes it gets even more difficult to remain optimistic. And first of all, I don't think there is any serious attempt of renewal, even in Muslim world. There are some efforts, but they are yet to produce something that is coherent paradigm construct. So the only constructs that are available now for young people and for everybody is the Salafi construct, the traditional, the tradition, the Wa'd and Irshad, or traditional, the Azhar style thing, which is also Salafi in general.
Yes.
The radical, which is also has Salafi roots, the extremist. There is hardly anybody who's producing an alternative frame of reference or system of knowledge, as Dr. Safi mentioned. There is, you need to provide something coherent to call it an alternative. But if you have some ideas or thoughts, people usually, that cause them a lot of pain and confusion, trying to track your ideas and thoughts, and then they get lost. So they resort to what is available. It's easy, ready-made. There is a package that is made. And these are the only packages that are available. The attempts of renewal or tajdeed in the Muslim world, number one, either they are polishing the existing traditional Salafi paradigm. So you cannot call it renewal. It's polishing. It's not providing an alternative. It's going there, starting from the books of Torah and the heritage, etc., and then try to polish it. Or it's coming from outside, which is the ijtihad that Muslims in history, they were afraid of, the bad ijtihad. The people who come from outside and say, we don't need Quran or we don't need this, we can do everything on our own. So we don't have authentic renewal that produces a coherent paradigm or a construct. That's what is missing. And don't blame young people in America, but Brother Muhammad said. Number one, these people, usually when they go to Islam, it's rejecting their society or rejecting what they are, the environment in which they're living. And that's why they go to something that is very rigid and very traditional, because that's the opposite of what's going on in their environment in this country. Modern, progressive, open-minded, using intellect. So let's go to the school that says freeze your mind, and this is something ready, simple, very simple. You don't need to think, etc. So, and I'm not surprised that young Muslims in America, when they practice Islam or become committed, and they look around, they don't find that coherent alternative that is really inspiring and empowering. So they go for the one that is simple, traditional, rigid, because that's the counter, what they call it, the antithesis of what is going on. Materialism. So we go to somebody who tells you that this whole dunya is not important. Focus on the hereafter. It's okay to be poor. It's okay to fail. Doesn't matter. Career doesn't matter. Everything what matters is akhirah. That's the antithesis of what's going on in their culture here. Competition, prove yourself, ambition, etc. So I'm not surprised. And unfortunately, we're going nowhere with this, because we are yet to understand how deep the crisis is, how complicated. We're talking about centuries of devastation, centuries of stagnation, has created big damage to the Muslim personality, to the Muslim mindset, to our way of thinking, to the way we understand our deen and practice it, to the way we understand life. And you know, when you stay stagnant for a long time and get used to failure and stagnation, that's very bad. You know, stagnation, it's like water when it gets stagnant. Same thing, society, when they get stagnant, they produce the worst out of them. That's why you see nowadays, even in terms of akhlaq or character in the Muslim world, unfortunately, we're nowhere close to other nations in terms of honesty, work ethics, etc. Keeping promises. And it's not helping us delaying the need to confront the reality. Reality is brutal. The reality is very bad. But delaying that moment of confronting it and saying, you know what, we need an accurate and comprehensive and deep diagnosis of what's going on, no matter how bad it is. We want to know the reality. It's like a patient who go to the doctor and say, don't worry about me, tell me exactly what's the problem. Don't sugarcoat it. Just tell me what it is so that we can start some treatment, even if it is painful, even if it is bad. Muslims are yet to get to that point. are yet to accept the fact that it is extremely bad and it's not helping the patchwork, the painkillers, the blame game, the denial, the justice. All of these are not helping. All of these are approaches that we have been trying for centuries. Denying the crisis, justifying it, finding excuses, blaming it on others. It's not helping. It's not getting us anywhere. It's about time to confront that reality and accept responsibility for what happened to us and for changing it. Nothing, you can see, even just to give you an example, Muslims all over the world nowadays are following the election in Turkey and really putting so much hope and praying, and Erdogan, it's Erdogan, if he's going to succeed, he's going to succeed for himself and for Turkey. Nothing is going to come to you. You in this Arab country or this Muslim country, you need to find a way for yourself. Don't follow illusions, because Erdogan winning, it's good for him. Whatever he's going to do is going to be for Turkey. It's not for you. So make no mistake about it. Wake up from this illusion that if he wins, then alhamdulillah, then we're going to go and celebrate. Celebrate what? You need to celebrate your own achievement if you did something. And that tells you how bad it is. When we want to look for achievement, we do these things. Either we go and find somebody else and try to claim it, or we go to history. So look at our ancestors, what they have done in Spain and in Iraq. And so that's your ancestors. تلك أمة قد خلت. What do you have to show yourself? All of that tells you the way we think. It's a denial. No, we are the best. The best with what? The best. Allah says that you are the best when you fulfill your mission. And if you don't, then there is nothing special about you. You're not the chosen people. So a lot need to be addressed, but unless we start with that moment of truth, facing that reality, seeing it, how deep it is, how bad the damage is deep and bad, and the solution, there is no easy solution or quick solution, but the sooner we start, the better. The good news is we have a great religion if we know how to leverage it. That great religion produced great success stories in the worst conditions you can think of. That's what we need to keep in our mind all the time, so that we know that we only have ourselves to blame. We have a great religion that produced incredible success stories in the worst conditions you can think of. That religion, today, our situation is much, much better than the situation of the early days of Islam. Numbers, resources, opportunities, technology, you name it. We are in much better position, but we just need to leverage that great religion and extract from it fresh understanding that is inspiring and empowering, and that can produce similar success story like we had in the early days. That's the job that we are not doing. It's the job of, again, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent new messenger with fresh message that is suitable for their own people. After Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave us a guidance that is suitable for all times and all places, but not as is. Suitable means you can extract from it an understanding that is suitable for all times and all places. It has the ingredients, but it's still your job to cook it. It's I keep always using this example. In Quran, it's like a pharmacy. Yes, all the ingredients of any medication that you want to make, it's there. But you still have to make the right medication and give it in the right dose to the right person. That still job needs to be done. So, and because that job is demanding, we go for the easier one, which is what? Borrow or import an understanding that was developed already somewhere else or in history, and just try to use it as is or with some polishing. Why? Because we're lazy. We're lazy. We don't want to do the difficult, demanding job of ijtihad. So let's do, and we're doing this, by the way, in every field. You can see in Muslim world, there is hardly any industry or any technology. We are always consumers of technology. Things come to us in packages, ready. We never think about producing. We are happy importing products that are ready. After research is done, and then technology is developed, and then we are happy that we are the first to buy it as is. We're doing the same thing with in the intellect. Rather than producing, doing the main job of Muslims at all times and all places is to do what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did before Muhammad by sending a new messenger with a fresh message. Muslims, wherever they settle, they have to do that job of extracting from Quran the construct, the paradigm, the guidance, understanding that is suitable for that place and that time. It's very, very difficult, very demanding, and it is delicate job, because where do you draw the line between what is constant and what can change? That's not easy. And we know that ends don't justify the means. There is a mission. There are maqasid, but also there are thawabit. There are overarching goals, but also there are things that are constant in Islam. But where you draw the line and how you mix these three things, which is the mission, how do we fulfill it? The goals of Islam, how can we achieve them? While we are sticking as much as possible to the thawabit or the constant, things that do not change. And what are they? Because some people are making everything thawabit. Some people, in order to suppress ijtihad, they say everything in Islam is constant. And why? Because the people, the Salaf are better than the Khalaf, so they have better understanding, so we have just to rely on them. So these things have to be confronted, and it requires a lot of courage. It requires wisdom, because you don't want to end up in useless confrontations or waste of time. You want to achieve the goal. But unless you challenge those foundations, the foundations of the existing understanding of Islam, is what I mentioned, is no need for ijtihad. Whatever was developed in the past is good enough, because these people are better and they're closer to the Prophet, and therefore the Prophet time, and therefore they have better understanding. Unless we challenge that and we replace it with what I was just mentioning, that Allah promised to preserve the source of guidance, but assigned you the task to extract from it something, a guidance that is suitable for your time and your place, and keep it fresh and relevant with ijtihad. That's the job that we failed to do, and then we justified ourselves that it's not needed. Why? Because we have something ready already. Why do we need to do an ijtihad? It's there already. Just bring those books, translate them to English, and they become suitable for American. No, they don't. It's not translation. First of all, it's not those books. It's the Quran. You go directly to the Quran and extract. Yes, you can use those as extra readings, but it is the source of the guidance, Quran and the authentic Sunnah. You go there and extract from them something that is suitable for your time and your place.
A question, Dr. Suhail.
Sure.
We always heard you talking about a mission-driven person, a mission-driven Muslim. I see that there is a confusion about the vision. If we don't know what the vision is, the mission become only to make myself better and try to do tazkiyah to my nafs and the people around me. But I'm missing the role of Islah, which is a completion of that tazkiyah, or the purpose of tazkiyah is to reach Islah. So before we're talking about a mission-driven person, in order to make it clear in our own head, what is the vision on this planet for a person who decided to submit his will lovingly willingly to Allah's will? Is it to just go with the flow, or is it to get something specific accomplished? Is my role to build a prosperous society that is worshiping Allah at the same time, or worshiping Allah is enough and forget the prosperous society because this is dunya? Am I only looking for akhirah? And how can I have this combination of dunya and akhirah moving the society forward?
This is great. This is great point and great question. Actually, the mission of Islam can be summarized in Tazkiyah and Islah. These are very, very loaded words.
Yes.
Tazkiyah and Islah. Tazkiyah to be all you can be, and to be always a better version and the best version of yourself.
Yes.
And Islah is to make this world a better place. The vision of Islam is the maqasid. Make no mistake about it. If you understand this idea, anybody understand that Islam came, it's a mission with maqasid, with goals, with ultimate goals. Those goals, when they are achieved, what is the vision? Vision is when the mission succeeds, that vision will become true. That's the vision. It's you start with something in your mind, and then you turn into a reality. For example, we're building a masjid. You start with that prototype. That's the vision. The vision that if our efforts succeed, this prototype is going to be reality. It's going to be building.
I don't know what the vision is. I want you to define it.
I'm coming. I'm coming too.
Go ahead.
I'm coming.
Go ahead.
So the vision of Islam is the maqasid, which is that the will of Allah or the purpose of Allah will be achieved on earth. All right. So I'm going to get into the details, but just to get the idea that Islam is a mission. When that mission succeeds, the vision will be achieved. What is this vision? Is the maqasid of Islam, which we need to extract them from the Quran and authentic Sunnah. And my humble effort, I came up with seven things that should guide. So my mission is Tazkiyah and Islah. So what is my vision? My vision is for this world to be just, adil, justice prevail, for this world to be prosperous, or whatever society, and especially starting from the society in which I'm living, to be prosperous, to be peaceful, peace, security, justice, prosperity, human dignity, and virtue, and freedom. 7. So freedom, hurriya. Freedom meaning there will be, you work hard so that there will be nobody who will be enslaved or oppressed on earth. Eliminates oppression and dictatorship and etc. Slavery, racism, all of this is part of the justice. Same. So for justice to prevail on earth, society in which you are in, and the whole world, to make it secure and peaceful. Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, والله لا يتمنى الله هذا الأمر حتى يسير الراكب من صنعاء إلى حضرموت لا يخشى إلا الله والذئب على غنمه. That peace prevails completely. That's when I consider my mission accomplished. Or you can translate it that when my mission is fulfilled. So Rasul now is talking about vision, because that's what vision is. Vision is what will be created when your mission is accomplished. So he said, when my mission is accomplished, peace will prevail in the Arabian Peninsula. So peace, security, freedom, justice, human dignity. You cannot see people sleeping in the street. That's something that Muslims should work to eliminate it completely, because that's affect the human dignity. Or the prostitution, everything that affects human dignity, Muslims should be working against it. And then virtue, fadila, and prosperity. So if Muslims understand their religion properly as a mission of Tazkiyah and Islah that aims to achieve these goals or this vision on earth, they hardly need anything else. They can go on, work on that mission of Tazkiyah and Islah, and maximize their contribution to the greater good toward these 7 goals. Wherever you are, yes.
Can I help you thinking
Sure.
over a little bit because I have an argument with this.
Sure.
Look,
When Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam went to Medina,
Mhm.
he would have been able to come out with maqasid if that's what his aim was. But instead, he came with a social contract. Why am I putting his experiment aside and coming out with a later experiment that was developed during Dawla al-Abbasiyya, talking about maqasid? Aren't these maqasid in the Constitution of Medina? Aren't they in reality constitutional articles found today in United States in its constitution? Come on.
Right.
let me just
These are
add
not,
something
these
else.
are not, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, also, I mean, when we say justice, adil or qist, do we have evidence from the Quran? I mean, the model that Maqasid or the Dr. Suhail model is a great, to me, I think it's very convincing. But the thing is, there is huge evidence in the Quran about al-adl. Like if you look at the ayah, أنزلنا الكتاب والميزان ليكون الناس بالقسط. It's the ayah
Okay.
number 25 in Surah Al-Hadid. So
Mhm.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this ayah says, أنزلنا الكتاب والميزان. We sent the
لا لا
kitab.
before that لا before that لقد أرسلنا رسلنا بالبينات وأنزلنا معهم الكتاب والميزان.
No, no.
All the messenger, all the
Yeah.
messages, everything.
Sure.
So I mean, this ayah is not a small ayah. It's very clear
Very.
purpose of sending all the Rasul and Risalat, messengers and messages for Al-Qist. ليقوم الناس بالقسط. So I think if we look at the Quran, we see this is a huge thing, but sometimes Muslims don't see that. They look at Islam from different model. I think because of the dictatorship.
But this is what Dr. Suhail was saying. You're
Exactly,
confirming what he's saying.
I mean,
and what I mean, I'm confirming what he's saying too. We just want to go into more details, so we will people, average people, will try to understand it, and it'll be clear to them. You know?
الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم, just to I the very good point. Rasul صلى الله عليه وسلم followed this model, but customized to his reality.
Yes.
So Rasul صلى الله عليه وسلم was fulfilling his mission and achieving the maqasid in Mecca.
Yes.
With the way that is possible in Mecca. In Medina,
Yes.
it was that social contract that is the tool to achieve those maqasid and fulfill his mission.
Yes.
You're right. You come to the United States, you find that those articles already in the Constitution.
Yes.
So your job become, rather than drafting a constitution, defending it and make sure that it is implemented.
And improving it.
I know. There is nothing perfect because it's a human effort.
Yes.
So try to, first of all, make sure that all the good points are implemented.
Yes.
Because a lot of time constitution will be
Yes,
good, but
yes,
the
yes.
laws
Yeah.
will not be good, and the policies. A lot of governments has very good constitution, but their policies are not consistent or are not fully implemented. So make sure that the good points in the constitution are implemented and defend them against any attempt
Yes.
from radical
Yes, yes.
right or radical left,
Yes.
and then work on the deficiencies or any room for improvement. That's why we had amendments.
Yes.
I mean, there is a room for amendment. So we fully agree that the Islamic paradigm is a mission of tazkiyah and islah to achieve those goals, but this is done in a different ways, in a different circumstances. So in some countries, they find themselves occupied by foreign army. In another country, they find themselves ruled by a dictator. In the United States, you find yourself, they have very democratic constitution that guarantees those freedom, etc. So your job becomes different. Your job becomes to defend that constitution, make sure it is fully implemented, and work on any deficiencies that are either in the constitution itself or in the implementation.
But Dr. Suhail, this job you're talking about has a name. It's called justice.
Yeah.
My goal as a Muslim in a Muslim majority country is to build a system based on the justice that I found in the Quran and the peace that I found in the Quran. My job, look, the minute we start presenting our children with a new vision not of a vision of a Muslim wearing his war clothing, holding a sword and saying Allahu Akbar and attacking others, but a Muslim by definition who's a peacemaker, because Muslim has a root silm, and silm is peace. So a Muslim by definition is a peacemaker. The minute I switch this and try to create a society based on building peace on earth, I will change the culture completely. Today, our children are confused. Do we want to fight the people around us until Islam is the rule, or do we want to be the examples for them to convince them to join us? Do we want to build bridges, or do we want to convert by force? All these small things for some people, but big things for me, need to be defined and spelled out, because a father in his house who's going home and not teaching his children that their purpose in life is to build peace on earth and try to love and respect the dignity of others, is someone who is destroying Islam without knowing it. So, I mean, to me, what is obvious to you is not necessarily obvious to everybody around.
I agree.
And we really need to teach the ABC of the Arabic language to them. Here are the ABC of the Quranic language. Those values, I really want to dedicate the rest of my life defining the various qiyam, values from the Quran, and try to have write-up or a new maybe curriculum about how to teach them and how to reach them, because we need to teach our children a new Islam, not the inherited Islam that cannot build a civilization, but a civilized Islam based on the Quran that teach everybody that we are brothers in humanity, and we Muslims are not the chosen people. We're the chosen for a message, for a mission. If we fulfill that mission, then we're the best in the eyes of Allah with all the people who are backing us. Today, downtown Washington, D.C., there are people who are standing to let United States know that there is tremendous injustice that happened to the Palestinian people. Some of these people are Jews for peace. It's a movement among American Jews, Jewish Voice for Peace. So those people, as far as I'm concerned, at that moment, are from khayra ummatin ukhrijat linnas. The Muslims there who are there, Sam is with them, by the way. Our brother Sam, you all met, is there today. And there are many people of various religions. Do we need to teach our children, unless you're a Muslim, you're condemned? Is that the world we want to build? Or what is it that we want to teach them? It shouldn't be my opinion. It shouldn't be a consensus we're reaching based on the Quran.
Just to help you, just to help you with this, and in order to stay away from this discussion, when you say the Jews for peace are part of the chosen community, etc., that can create a debate that we don't need it.
Okay.
I think the best way is to say what? We have a mission to fulfill and those goals to achieve. And we were not appointed to judge people or to convert them or to categorize them. That's none of our business.
Barakallah feek.
These people, those creation are the creation of Allah. This is a humanity. It's a large family. So people, anybody is our brother and sister in humanities. And they are, if they're living in the same country, they are fellow citizens. And if they live in the same neighborhood, they are your good neighbors. And if they work with you, they are your colleagues. Forget about, no, Muslim and non-Muslim. No, people are not divided into Muslims and non-Muslim. That's for Allah to decide. That's not for you. For you is these people, they are, again, your brother and sister in humanity, fellow citizen, colleague, neighbors, etc. What's the job? The job for you is, number one, for you to be a role model to be the best version of yourself. That's one. Second, help those around you rather than judge them. Help them becoming better people.
Yes.
Help them while
Yes.
you're learning from them. Help them.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that you are superior and you're lecturing.
No.
No, it's mutual interaction.
Servanthood. Servant leader. Be a servant leader.
Yeah, you
خادم
share.
القوم سيدهم.
Yeah,
خادم
you share
on
and learn.
سيد in heaven.
Yeah, you share and learn, and together you move up, you
Forward.
move to the next level, because there is hardly anybody on earth from whom you cannot learn something new.
Yes.
And you cannot benefit from your interaction. They
Yes.
say you learn from the books you read and the people you know.
Yes.
So that's your job. Your job, become the best version of yourself, help people around you, becoming better people, uplifting, mentoring. That's also tazkiyah, because tazkiyah in Arabic has those two meanings.
Yes.
Zakka, zakkaha, that's yourself. Yuzakkihim, that's helping others, becoming better people. So that's your job. And then
زكاة
what?
تزكيتي هي تزكية الآخرين.
Yeah, and then what? And then join hands with the good people, regardless of their faith, in any cause that you find them allied with you. You're working for Palestine. You find some people who are from different faith, different ideology, etc., advocating that cause. Cooperate with them. Ta'awanu. Cooperate, work with them. And then you work on another cause, family, or in education, that you want your children not to be taught something, and you find yourself working together with some people who are considered to be from the right in this country, or so
Conservative movement.
conservative. The whole idea is advocate your causes, your good causes, trying to achieve the goals of Islam, and then join hands with whoever agrees with you in that regard, on that particular cause. Forget about judging them, forget about converting them, forget about all of this. That's not your job. Now, we left this job and we took the job that Allah reserved for himself, which is a qadi, sitting down and judging.
Yes.
This is a Muslim, that's a kafir. This is going to heaven, this is going to go to hell. طيب. And then among the pool of Muslims, it did not even stop there. Among the pool of Muslims, this is a good Muslim, that's not a good Muslim. So this bad Muslim also is going to go join the others in hell. And then we ended up with only one group who's going to be saved. Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. Allah told you that's not your job in several ways.
Wallahi, Dr. Suhail, that sounds like a topic of a great khutbah. How about next week talking to us about all this?
Inshallah.
The thing is, the model, we have two models here. The model that limits Islam to bunya al-Islam ala khams. So if you do Salah, Zakah, Hajj, you are a great Muslim. You don't have to worry about the government, because that's related to the, this family or this dynasty or something. And they inserted in the mindset of Muslims, siyasa is not good. Politics is, leave it to the politicians or to the, So, I mean, there is a lot of victims, like Imam Malik, when he announced what happened during his time, they forced people to do bay'ah. So he could not say la bay'ata li mukrah. He said la talaqa li mukrah. Is that right? So, but the Khalifa at that time was smart. He said, you said you're so you have to change this hukum or fatwa. Yes. So he was punished until he could not move his hand. So these days, Malikiya could not do their, follow Abu Hanifa and Imam Malik without putting the hands during Salah like that. They do isfal, they let them go down. So not only Imam Malik, but the thing is, the model that we inherited made us think far from these maqasid, far from understanding Islam from when we read Islam, when we read Quran, we only sometimes look at how nice is the voice of the reciter.
Mhm.
We don't do tafakkur, we don't do tadabbur, we don't do ikra. Ikra, the first thing came in Islam. So ikra is not just read. Ikra, read and understand and implement in your life. So I think there's two models. That's what make the new understanding or the reform or the rediscovering Islam from the Quran and authentic Sunnah very hard, because people learn this every day. Everywhere, the Azhar is based on the old model. Salafi has the old model.
And it's very
So
convenient.
folks,
Very convenient.
they're very convenient and
Very
very
simple.
Read
Very
back.
simple.
Yeah.
Very simple.
yeah. So the change will do a lot of changes in the Sunni side and the Shia side. You have the same problem. They have a paradigm that's totally changed. You know, make the brain or the intellect frozen in both sides. So what we are doing here is trying to awake this intellect and make it start thinking. So that's why I think it's very hard. We started this discussion with Brother Firas in the beginning. Why this model finding some troubles going through lots of communities. But I want to go back. I don't want us to be misunderstood. When Dr. Safi said we are a peacemaker, that doesn't mean if I live in like Palestine or Kashmir or something and there is struggle, I will be a peacemaker and say nothing. No, no, no. I mean, in your situations, as you, Dr. Suhail mentioned, there's agility or there's flexibility in the model. If there is struggle in Mecca, Rasulullah were fighting with the Meccan leaders who insisted on their caste system, or they are the leaders and other people are slaves. And that's why they refuse Islam, not because Islam say one yani tawheed or one ilah. No, because it will take their achievements and their response in the society. Same thing when they went to Medina, it was different. So there's a room for flexibility in applying these maqasid.
Muhammad, just to confirm what you are saying, and probably what you said, Firas also maybe have said that earlier. It's always the case when people, and I think I mentioned this was either here in Jumu'ah, that I read or heard like last week or so, that's the difference between convenient and commitment and the definitions of the two. Yeah, I think they say convenient interest. So the difference between interest and commitment. They say interest is when you are ready, willing to do something as long as it is convenient. Then you can say, this is my interest. But commitment is when you are ready to do it when it is not convenient. Even when it is not convenient. So majority of Muslims, they are in the first level, which is looking for convenience. And the current version, the current model, as Brother Muhammad was mentioning, is very convenient. It is very convenient that to understand Islam adds few things to do and few things to avoid. And you are fine, and you are the best, and you can judge others. And it's amazing. I mean, very attractive. Imagine somebody is selling you this model, that you are better than others, and you can even judge others. And all what you need to do is a few things to do and a few things to avoid. It's an amazing. Why not? That's a good deal. And somebody comes next and say, no, there is a big mission that you have to understand and fulfill. And there is a big vision, and you need to change the world and change yourself. No, 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 that's too complicated. I'm very comfortable with this. So expect resistance. Any change in history was made with resistance, especially if you're calling for major change. The link between the two, as Brother Muhammad was mentioning, the link between people subscribe to this current model and why people are not eager to study the Quran. There is a very solid link between the two. Very. If I understand Islam as praying and fasting and few things to do and few things to avoid, and I think that's what Islam is, and I'm doing that, I will lose any motivation to study the Quran. I will read it only for barakah. I will read it just for rewards, just to see how many pages I read without bothering to study it. Why? Why you study something that you think you already know it? If I think that I know my religion, I know what I'm supposed to be doing, and I'm doing it, why do I need to study more? And if you look for a reason why Muslims are not eager, not only to study the Quran, but they're not eager to learn, even knowledge, iqra, reading and learning, it's because of this idea in the back of their mind that we are already the best people, and I know what I need to know, and I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. So no reason for me to study the Quran, no reason for me to read, no reason for me to learn, no reason for me to do self-development, because I'm already the best. Because I'm Muslim, so I'm the best. It's a very bad idea that has to be completely removed and replaced with this model that we are talking about. No, you are not the best because of who you are. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not choose you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala assigned you a big mission that if you fulfill it, that will give you the special status. But it is big, it's a conditional. Even the victory from Allah and the help is conditional.
Yes.
Unless you do that, then you don't have any special status, and you're not gonna get any special help. That's what we need to. If I understand Islam the right way, if I understand Islam that it is big mission, that I have to work hard for it, exhaust all the means, spare no efforts, no money. That's the meaning of jihad. Jahadu bi amwalihim anfusihim, meaning they did not spare anything. If I understand Islam that way, then number one, I'm going to be working hard to fulfill that mission. And that's very demanding. And therefore, I need that spiritual refueling from the Quran. So the Quran becomes a necessity for me. I need to go to the Quran to get the refuel, to the spiritual recharging and refueling. It's like your cell phone. If you don't keep it at night in the charging, you cannot find it working tomorrow. So I need that. And then also, because this mission is big and there is a big vision, I need to understand it. I need to better understand. So I need to study the Quran. I need to go to the Quran to get the spiritual recharging and refueling, and I need to get that clarity. And that's exactly what the companions did. The companions were eager for, they were so happy when the Rasul ﷺ received new Quran. Why? Because they are committed to big mission, and they need the guidance, and yet they need the support from Allah. Because when Quran is revealed, there is a lot of assurance, and there is a lot of support. And also there is clarifying the way, giving guidance and direction. So that's why they absorb that, apply it, and wait for more. So eager to receive Quran. Nowadays, Quran is on our phones. It's available everywhere with us, and we don't have that eagerness to read it, to study it. Why? Because of that idea that we are already the best people because of who we are. Now we are born best people without even doing anything. And second, my religion, I know it, and I am performing it. So thank you. Don't tell me anything new. I don't need it. I don't need anything and why this is remaining and why there is resistance to any change, because it's very convenient. It is very convenient, and it's very hard for people to move out of their comfort zone or to trade something that is convenient to something that is demanding. Fulfilling the mission and maqasid of Islam is very demanding. Applying the sha'air of Islam is convenient. It's not very demanding. You can incorporate it in your life. That's without major change, and you keep going on. So it's very, don't expect any easy response from people when you are providing them with something that is demanding in exchange for something they have that is very convenient. And always expect resistance when you try to get people to pull people out of their comfort zone. Muslims today are in a very solid, very deeply entrenched comfort zone. All right. You can tell all nations are ahead of Muslims, and Muslims are still believe they are better than others. Still. We are better than them. Nothing. They did not. All of this is nothing. We are better. Better for what? No, better because we are Muslim. Yes, if you are true Muslim. If you are true Muslim, that will give you that special status. And still, this idea of you feeling better than anybody else, it's a satanic idea. أنا خير منه.
Yeah.
Quran mentioned in the behalf of shaitan. This feeling, you should always focus on yourself and try to be better. But feeling that I'm better than others, it's not even an Islamic attitude or thought. Shouldn't be there. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dr. Suhail. Can we open the floor now for some questions, maybe?
Sure.
To see that if people are reacting with us, interacting with us.
Sure.
Any questions, brothers, sisters?
I have a question, but probably different subject. Dr. Suhail,
Yes.
at this time of life, if we compare ourselves with the people who lived in Spain in the end of the Islamic rules there, are we in the Middle East right now in situation similar to that time or different?
Which
Are
one?
we in Spain, in the end of the Islamic rules in Spain, in the end of it, are we in the Middle East right now, in the Arab Muslim world, same situation right now? I think the same. It's meaning we will lose. I think our countries will not become Muslim countries in 50 years, in 100 years, I don't know. But do you believe that, or it's impossible? Or
the second part of the question is difficult because it has to do with the future. But the first part, and it's similar or even worse. Yeah.
Worst.
Because at that time, Muslims were declining from a high level. And we are at the bottom already. We're not even declining. There were people at the end of Spain time era, Muslims, they were at the top of the mountain and they were coming down. We are already at the bottom of the world. It's probably even worse. Now we're not, for a long time, we have no achievements. Muslims at that time in Spain, their achievements were still there. They were declining from a very high point. But that's not our case. We have been stagnant for so long and going from bad to worse. So no, that's a very different, similar or even worse. But now, in terms of future, what I know, unfortunately, and I'm really sad to say this, I don't have much hope in this current generation of Muslim and Muslim activists to do anything, any significant change in the Muslim world in general, but especially in the Arab world, that's the part more familiar with, and even it's also in worse situation because Malaysia, Turkey, etc., they are better situations. But I'm not optimistic at all. I think if we want to draw analogy, now we are similar to the people of Musa alayhi salam. Now we are in a state of lost, and we need another generation. And that's what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told Musa, Tihuna fil ardi 40 sana. We need another generation. This generation is not going to do it. Unfortunately, when I look at what's going on now, you find majority of Muslims passive. As I mentioned in one of the last khutbah, we are probably among all nations in the world, we are the people who spend much more time on politics, but just talking about it and watching the news and following social media, but doing nothing. Very passive. There are people who are even indifferent, they don't care, but even those who think they are concerned, they follow the news, they spend so many hours every day, but they do nothing. And then those who are active, if you look at them, wallahi, even here in Washington, I'm sorry to say this, it's purposeless activism. People are spinning their wheels. They go and meet with officials in State Department, meet with the Congress staffers, etc., but they get nothing achieved. It's just you go there, you express your concern, and they listen to you. It became like, when you go to psychiatrist, or they let you vent out, just to talk. Those meetings became like that. You go just, our people, they come out feeling good because they were granted that meeting with the public officials, and probably they get some pictures, but they get nothing done. Muslim activists in the Muslim world, it's even more obvious. And the Arab Spring has showed it. When that opportunity came, it was wasted in no time.
Yeah.
No, there isn't hardly, because no real vision. I just recently heard, I think it's a British general who said that wars or battles depend on three things. The people and the tools that you have, the soldiers and the resources you have, the morale, and then third, which was amazing for me. I mean, it's something we know, but sometimes when someone articulated, he called it concept. The way you fight the battle, the way you do. Now, nowadays, we don't have the right vision or mission. And the people who are doing the job are not really very savvy or sophisticated. And the concept, which is the way we're doing business, or either here or there, it's not going anywhere. And that's why we're spinning our wheels. Unless you manage to commit to come up with that fresh paradigm, Islamic inspiring and empowering paradigm that is centered around that mission and vision, and commit Muslims to it, whether Muslim Americans or Muslims all over, they become rallied around that mission. And then they know, they apply that hadith, that great hadith that always use it. إن الله يحب إذا عمل أحدكم عملا أن يتقنه. Allah loves when you do something to perfect it. إن الله كتب الإحسان في كل شيء. Excellence in everything. It's not enough that you say, I'm busy. Whenever you talk to anyone, activists, they'll tell you, Allah, we stay late at night and we don't even have time for ourselves and for our families, etc., because we are working, meetings and working. But that's not good enough. And then when you talk about the results, I know results are in the hands of Allah. We're not responsible for results. So it's okay if we work and we produce nothing. It's fine, because results are not in our hands. These ideas have to be removed. And we really have to understand that if you're doing the work for Allah, or you're doing the work of Allah, you need to perfect it. And you need to have clear goals, and you hold yourself accountable. Now we have seen, and I don't want to mention names, but you can see in every case, Syria, Libya, you name it, Sudan, Yemen, etc. So much work is done for those causes. Did they move? Did they push those causes 1 inch? The only area where we did something good, and we keep doing it, because we always find it easier, which is the relief work. And it's very noble work, make no mistake about it. But we always, when we fail to change policies, when we fail to change the reality, we go and make ourselves comfortable by doing the relief work, which is needed and very noble. And Jazakumullah khair, everybody who does it, because the people who are suffering cannot wait. But let's not fool ourselves. That's the only area where we did a reasonable job. It's a relief work overseas, and it is building those mosques in this country and with the Islamic centers and Islamic schools. Other than that, there is hardly that there is something that we can show for.
Any other questions?
السلام عليكم.
وعليكم السلام ورحمة الله.
دكتور جمال إذا تفضل تفضل تفضل.
أنا عمر أحكي.
تفضل.
Sorry, I missed the conversation because I was on the road, so I was able to pick up some. But let me ask the panel, especially the doctor, can I conclude that Muslims have only been late and regressed because they did not care about the causes of the world, and that is the limited delay to their delay or daily in wealth, money, trade, and let's say industry, craft, and so on, from the many means by which it is possible to control the owner of disposal in this society, or in the Alam al-Arabi or Islami, and overcome the nation with regard to a matter of to be equipped and by delay, which means they're daily in material reasons without giving deep attention to what God has guided Muslim. And it does not occur to them that what it meant by delay, and maybe by their delay in relation to Deen, Islam. What I heard the doctor, he said changing policy. Probably if I did understand you right, changing policy in the Western society. But if you meant changing policy within Sharia and Sunnah in the Alam al-Arabi and Islami, that will be more difficult because of most of the society in the Arab and Islamic world are led and only by half of educated people and semi-scholar, which most of التشريع أو الدين they call it religion ministry in the Arab world, and part of the Islamic country, it's controlled by dictator leader. So how would you overcome this political issue that has been existing since the demolition of the Ottoman Empire? And this is, I don't need to touch political or politics here because this is not the field that we met, but I see it's the Al-Alam al-Islami has been occupied by a power that works against al-Islam. And for example, nowadays we can see the Turkey. Now there are fighting between the Islamic concept, value versus the secular. And I hope, the panel, especially the doctor, will comment on that. Thank you very much.
Jazakallah khair. It's mostly comment rather than question, but first of all, we need to stop blaming anybody for our situations because the Islamic approach is always قُلْ هُوَ مِنْ عِنْدِ أَنفُسِكُمْ. You only have yourself to blame. فبما كسبت أيديكم وما أصابك من سيئة فمن نفسك. So Quran, Muslims supposedly should have learned this lesson the hard way, because after the defeat in the Battle of Uhud, Muslims were wondering why we lost, even though we are Muslims and the others are kuffar, mushrikeen, and why we and Quran elaborated like 2 or 3 pages on these questions, and then concluded by saying, قُلْ هُوَ مِنْ عِنْدِ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَوَلَمَّا أَصَابَتْكُمْ مُصِيبَةٌ قَدْ أَصَبْتُمْ مِثْلَيْهَا قُلْتُمْ أَنَّ هَذَا. How come? قُلْ هُوَ مِنْ عِنْدِ أَنفُسِكُمْ. So that's very important that we should. So it's not like because we were occupied, like Malik ibn Nabi says that before you were occupied, you draw that occupation by your weakness. So the problem is not that people came to occupy you. The problem is you were weak that allowed people to occupy you. So the solution it's not only to push the colonizations out, that's needed, but also you need to treat the reasons of weakness, and you mentioned one of them, which is dictatorship and injustice. And there is no nation that will prosper with dictatorship and injustice. Now, on the other hand, dictators exist because the people accept them. Now you can tell me, no, people do not accept them, do not like it, they complain. Yeah, there is difference between complaining and working to change. Complaining is easy, but فَاسْتَخَفَّ قَوْمَهُ فَأَطَاعُوهُ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about Fir'aun. The dictator exists because people accept him. The situation is bad because people are accepting it and are trying to adapt to it rather than changing it. Our mission is mission of change. Islam is a religion of change. And we should remember that. And if you look at the history of Muslim, you will find it simply, this is an ummah that is defined by mission. Whenever they understood their mission and fulfill it to the best of their ability, they prospered. And they become at the forefront. When they abandon that mission, they become in the back seat because they lose the help from Allah. In tansurullah yansurkum. They lose the help from Allah, etc. So we need to stop making any excuses, stop blaming others. Now we are in the situation because of ourselves. We only have ourselves to blame. And Allah will not change the conditions of people until themselves change. If Muslims are going to continue to think this the same way and do business the same way and try to adapt to their reality rather than changing it, then the conditions will not change. So it's not
may
because...
I say some? When you finish, please.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I meant at the beginning of my comment, I said, if you allow me to conclude the conversation, it was not a comment. As a matter of fact, what I said in the beginning as a conclusion, what did I understand from the whole hadith? Now, in regard to occupation, I meant occupation is an inner occupation, is not from a foreigner or foreign force. Let's, for example, as I said, I don't want to bring any politics, but I have to say, like in Egypt, when they try to change the, just a minute, please. When they try to change the outcoming government, they've been killed, they've been dragged. And look at Algeria back in the 90s. Islamic came and they refused. What I mean is right now, you know, I'm not into a position or to blame Muslims to go ahead and change the current situation because we are facing in an upper uncontrollable forces, which is upper hand forces. And but am I still there or left?
Yeah.
Hello?
You are still
I'm
there.
sorry because I'm driving. Yeah. So what do you think? You know, practically for Muslim that who lives in under a dictatorship, like most of al-alam al-Arabi do. I mean, are they some of the group go in the street and fight a force and powerful government who are supported by, unfortunately, the Western, and sacrifice them and just give me 1 second. It says if you follow قول الله ولا تلقوا بأنفسكم إلى التهلكة. I understand if the whole society will rise, I agree with you, but to ask Muslim to change a situation that who has a responsibility for his family and his wife, a few group that will go up on the street, which is happened in Egypt, and they're being crashed. So what do we have and a practical solution for nowadays for Alam al-Islami to come up forward with Tatbiq al-Islam?
Okay, this is a big topic and we are towards the end of the session, but let me tell you a couple of points to answer your questions. Nobody asks people to put themselves in danger and go out to confront the brutal regimes, etc. No. What everybody needs to do in any circumstances, no matter how bad it is, even if you are in North Korea, wherever you are, there is some basic duties is to be Rasula Qawmah, meaning what? Meaning do what the Prophet has done in Mecca and fulfill your mission within the context in which you are in, whatever it is allowed. Nobody will tell anyone to go and throw yourself in danger, but what you do, you can develop yourself into a role model. That's something that you can do anywhere. Don't tell me that you cannot develop yourself into a role model in a dictatorship. The role model means your behavior from start to finish of the day, you try to be exemplary. At work, you perfect your work. When you're driving, you drive defensively. You don't throw anything in the street. You try to behave as if you are a citizen in a very advanced nation, even though you are in a terrible nation. When you go to any administration to do some administrative work, try to ask for your rights and don't allow people to be lazy, etc. To the extent it is possible. But don't accept that bad reality that becomes normal. That's the bad thing. We should never accept something that is abnormal to become normal. And that's what is happening in many Muslim countries. Things that are a result of corruption, things that are a result of people failing to do their job, but we are accepting it because we never demand our rights and we never try to push back. So developing yourself into a role model, try to ask for your rights as much as possible without putting yourself in a danger or risk. Fulfill all your duties, all wajibat, and ask for all huquq as much as possible, all your rights. Again, imagine yourself, even though you're living in Syria, for example, now, imagine yourself you are in Sweden and behave like that every day. So work on, develop yourself into a role model, help people around you becoming better people, because if the people improve, they will not accept this kind of regimes. This kind of regime exists because people are not aware and because people are also deserve it. يعني what they say, كما تكونوا يولى عليكم. كما تكونوا يولى عليكم. So there is that interaction between the two. الناس على دين ملوكهم. Bad regimes will produce bad societies, but also bad societies will produce bad regimes. Also كما تكونوا يولى عليكم. So how we break this cycle? We break it. We cannot change from above, and we have tried that in the Arab Spring and did not work. So there is the bottom-up change. Yourself, you need to change. Help people around you becoming better people. It's going to be difficult and it's going to be long-term. We need to forget about quick solutions. If you tomorrow, somebody who's living in those countries and try to have the work ethics, 8 hours, you work 8 hours, not 8 minutes, like the statistics says, and do your job to the best of your ability. Don't accept the bribery. Don't give bribery. Ask for your rights, etc. Behave like this. It's going to be long-term. People are going to make fun of you. You're not going to see any results quickly. But if you persist, then somebody else at work will join you. Now you are two. Somebody else in the neighborhood becomes like you. Maybe this person was among those who are making fun of you. Maybe this person was among the people who say you are dreaming. Our situation is hopeless. It will never change, etc. But now, because you persisted, and that's the only thing you can do. And then with those people, when you become a group, 2, 3, 4, etc., you can do a lot more. And it doesn't have to be confrontational, secret, or it doesn't have to be even political. It can always push that each one of us should do the same in your respective environment, and together let's see what we can do to fulfill the mission of Islam within the margin that is allowed, without putting ourselves in danger or risk or confronting the government. How can we make our neighborhood better? How can we make our workplace better? Because that's the only way society will change. Bottom up, and then, you know, like when there is an oil spill in the ocean, they clear it circle by circle until they clear the whole thing. So everybody has to clear his or her circle, and hopefully together we can do it in the society at large. But that's a big topic and requires a lot more time.
Yeah, it is. It is. Especially the conversation has a split. I'm sorry, just give me 1 minute. Panel. As far as understood, the discussion was like topic the fundamental of Muslim, and now what you just told me, the behavior of educational of Muslim. This we will topic. Need more time. Thank you.
جزاك الله خير. I would like to نرحب بالدكتور جمال معنا برضو. أهلا فيك دكتور جمال إذا أنت سامعني. على كل حال إحنا يعني almost we're on at the end of the meeting. دكتور جمال.
brother محمد إن شاء الله next week بإذن الله.
إن شاء الله إن شاء الله جزاكم الله خير. I think we can continue with the يعني something related to this discussion. جزاكم الله خير.
جزاك الله.
Thank you. شكرا. Thank you أستاذ محمد والدكتور صافي والدكتور سهيل والأخ عفوا أنا لم أتعرف عليك. Thank you very much.
السلام عليكم.
بارك الله فيكم جميعا.
السلام.
حياكم الله. السلام عليكم.
عليكم السلام ورحمة الله. جزاكم الله خير.